Hello and welcome to our channel. Today's video is all about preparing for a business analyst interview in the banking industry. As a business analyst in the banking field, it's important to have a strong understanding of the industry as well as the ability to analyze and interpret data. In this video, we'll be covering some of the most commonly asked interview questions and providing tips and tricks on how to best answer them. Before we begin, make sure to subscribe to our channel and like this video if you found it helpful. Now, let's dive in and start preparing for your next business analyst interview in the banking industry. Are you ready? Let's go. Question number 1. How do you handle confidential information in your work as a business analyst? Well, as a business analyst, you can resort to the following points to handle confidential information. Point number 1. Understand the sensitivity of the information. The first step in handling confidential information is to understand the sensitivity of the information and the potential consequences of its disclosure. This might involve reviewing any relevant policies or guidelines, as well as consulting with colleagues or superiors to understand the appropriate handling of the information. Number 2. Protect the confidentiality of the information. To protect the confidentiality of the information, it may be necessary to implement physical, technical, or administrative safeguards. This might involve storing the information in a secure location, using encryption or other security measures to protect electronic data, or implementing access controls to ensure that only authorized individuals can access the information. Point number 3 is the use of information only for authorized purposes. Confidential information should only be used for the purpose for which it is intended. This might involve using the information only in the course of one's professional duties and not disclosing it to unauthorized individuals or organizations. The next point is dispose of the information securely. When it is no longer needed, confidential information should be disposed of securely. This might involve shredding paper documents, wiping electronic data, or following other appropriate procedures to ensure that the information is not accessible to unauthorized individuals. By following these steps, business analysts and other professionals can handle confidential information in a responsible and professional manner. Let's move on to the next question. Question number 2. Can you describe a time when you had to work with a team to complete a project in the banking industry? Such a question might also ask you to provide ways in which you would contribute to such a project in the future. The answer to this question is one way that I contribute to a team project in the banking industry is by providing research and analysis to inform the project. This might involve gathering and analyzing data from a variety of sources, such as industry reports, government data, and internal company data. I might use data analysis tools and visualization techniques to identify trends, patterns, and insights that can inform decision making and guide the direction of the project. Another way that I might contribute to a team project in the banking industry is by helping to develop and communicate the project plan. This might involve a Gantt chart or other project management tool to outline the tasks and activities that will be required to complete the project, along with the timelines, budgets, and resources. I might also help to develop presentations or other materials to communicate the project plan to stakeholders and team members. Finally, I might contribute to a team project in the banking industry by providing support and assistance to other team members as needed. This might involve helping to troubleshoot issues, providing guidance and expertise on specific tasks or activities, or collaborating with team members to achieve common goals. Overall, my contributions to a team project in the banking industry would depend on the specific needs and goals of the project, as well as my own skills and expertise. Let's now move on to question number 3. Can you describe a project you worked on in the banking industry and how you approached it? The answer to such a question would be As a business analyst, I worked on a project to improve the customer onboarding process at a bank. Here's how I approached the project. Point number one, define the problem. As a business analyst, I would first identify the problem that needs to be solved. In this case, the problem might be that the customer onboarding process is taking too long, or that customers are experiencing a lot of frustration during the onboarding process. Point number two, gather and analyze data. As a business analyst, I would then gather and analyze data to better understand the problem and identify potential causes. This might involve reviewing customer feedback, analyzing process data, and conducting interviews with employees and customers. Point number three, develop and test solutions. Based on analysis, I would then develop potential solutions to the problem and test them to determine which ones are most effective. This might involve prototyping new processes, implementing new technologies, or making changes to existing processes. Point number four, implement and monitor the solution. Once the most effective solution has been identified, I would work with relevant teams to implement it and monitor its performance to ensure that it is meeting the desired outcomes. Question number four, how do you stay up to date on regulatory changes in the banking industry? Well, to answer this question, there are various ways that individuals and organizations in the banking industry can stay informed about regulatory changes. One way to stay informed is to regularly review updates from relevant regulatory agencies such as the Federal Reserve, the Office of the Comptroller of the Currency, and the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. These agencies often publish guidances, bulletins, and other materials that provide information about new and revised regulations. Another way to stay informed is to subscribe to newsletters, alerts, or other communications from professional associations or trade groups that represent the banking industry. These organizations often provide updates on regulatory changes that may impact their members. Additionally, many banks and other financial institutions have dedicated compliance departments or teams that are responsible for tracking regulatory changes and ensuring that the organization is in compliance with all relevant regulations. These teams may also provide training or guidance to other employees on how to comply with new or revised regulations. Finally, some banks and financial institutions may choose to work with external consultants or law firms that specialize in regulatory compliance to stay informed about changes in the regulatory landscape. These organizations can provide guidance and support to help banks navigate complex regulatory requirements. Let's now skim through question number 5. How do you gather and analyze data to inform business decisions in the banking industry? Data can be a valuable asset for banks and other financial institutions as it can provide insights into customer behavior, financial performance, market trends, and other factors that can inform business decisions. There are several ways that banks and other financial institutions might gather and analyze data to inform business decisions. Number one, internal data sources. Many banks and financial institutions have access to a wide range of internal data sources, such as transactional data, customer data, and financial performance data. This data can be used to identify trends, patterns, and insights that can inform business decisions. Number two, external data sources. Banks and financial institutions may also gather data from external sources, such as market research firms, government agencies, and other organizations. Well, this data can provide valuable context and perspective on broader economic and market trends that may impact the organization. Number three, data analytics tools. To analyze data effectively, banks and financial institutions may use a variety of data analytics tools, such as spreadsheets, business intelligence software, and machine learning algorithms. These tools can help to identify patterns, trends, and correlations in large data sets and can provide insights that may not be immediately evident through manual analysis. Number 4, data visualization tools. To present data in a clear and concise manner, banks and financial institutions may use data visualization tools such as charts, graphs, and maps to help illustrate findings and insights. These visualizations can help decision makers understand complex data sets more easily and make informed decisions based on the data. By gathering and analyzing data from a variety of sources, banks and financial institutions can gain a more complete understanding of their customers, markets, and operations, which can help inform business decisions and drive success. We're now at question 6. Can you give an example of how you identified and addressed a problem in the banking industry? One possible example of a problem in the banking industry might be a decline in customer satisfaction. This could be identified through customer feedback, customer survey data, or other metrics that measure customer satisfaction. To address this problem, the bank might take the following steps. Step number 1, identify the root causes of the decline in customer satisfaction. The bank might conduct a root cause analysis to identify the specific factors that are contributing to the decline in customer satisfaction. This might involve collecting data from a variety of sources, including customer feedback, transactional data, and employee feedback. Step 2, develop a plan to address the root causes. Based on the findings from the root cause analysis, the bank might develop a plan to address the identified root causes of the decline in customer satisfaction. This might involve implementing procedures, process improvements, training employees, or introducing new products or services. Step number 3, implement the plan. The bank would then implement the plan to address the root causes of the decline in customer satisfaction. This might involve working with employees to implement new processes or systems or rolling out new products or services to customers. Step 4, monitor and evaluate progress. The bank would then regularly monitor and evaluate the progress of the plan to ensure that it is having the desired impact on customer satisfaction. If necessary, the bank might make adjustments to the plan to ensure that it is effectively addressing the root causes of the decline in customer satisfaction. Performing these mentioned steps will surely help the bank in solving the problem of declining customer satisfaction. We're now at question 6. Can you give an example of how you identified and addressed a problem in the banking industry? One possible example of a problem in the banking industry might be a decline in customer satisfaction. This could be identified through customer feedback, customer survey data, or other metrics that measure customer satisfaction. To address this problem, the bank might take the following steps. Step number 1, identify the root causes of the decline in customer satisfaction. The bank might conduct a root cause analysis to identify the specific factors that are contributing to the decline in customer satisfaction. This might involve collecting data from a variety of sources, including customer feedback, transactional data, and employee feedback. Step 2, develop a plan to address the root causes. Based on the findings from the root cause analysis, the bank might develop a plan to address the identified root causes of the decline in customer satisfaction. This might involve implementing procedures, process improvements, training employees, or introducing new products or services. Step number 3, implement the plan. The bank would then implement the plan to address the root causes of the decline in customer satisfaction. This might involve working with employees to implement new processes or systems or rolling out new products or services to customers. Step 4, monitor and evaluate progress. The bank would then regularly monitor and evaluate the progress of the plan to ensure that it is having the desired impact on customer satisfaction. If necessary, the bank might make adjustments to the plan to ensure that it is effectively addressing the root causes of the decline in customer satisfaction. Performing these mentioned steps will surely help the bank in solving the problem of declining customer satisfaction. Whoa, hold it right there. Before we move on, we really appreciate your support and would love for you to subscribe to our channel and hit the like button on this video. By pressing the bell icon, you'll be the first to know when we upload new content and you'll never miss a video. Plus, your support helps us to continue making great content for you. Like this video to show your support. Let's move on. Question number 9. How do you communicate findings and recommendations to stakeholders in the banking industry? Well, effective communication is an important part of any project, and it is especially critical in the banking industry, where decisions can have significant financial and regulatory implications. There are several ways that findings and recommendations might be communicated to stakeholders in the banking industry. Number 1. Written reports. One way to communicate findings and recommendations is through written reports. These reports can provide a detailed and comprehensive overview of the project, including its objectives, methods, findings, and recommendations. Reports can be distributed to stakeholders in a variety of formats such as PDF documents or online portals. Number 2. Presentations. Findings and recommendations can also be communicated through presentations, such as slide decks or webinars. Presentations can be useful way to visually illustrate key points and findings and can be tailored to the specific needs and preference of the audience. Number 3. Meetings. Stakeholders in the banking industry may also prefer to receive findings and recommendations through in person or virtual meetings. Meetings can provide an opportunity for stakeholders to ask questions and provide feedback on the project, and can help to facilitate more interactive and collaborative discussions. Number 4. Executive summaries. For stakeholders who may not have the time or resources to review detailed reports or attend lengthy presentations, executive summaries can provide a concise overview of the project's key findings and recommendations. These summaries can be distributed in a variety of formats, such as email, newsletters, or online portals. Overall, the most effective approach to communicating findings and recommendations to stakeholders in the banking industry will depend on the specific needs and preferences of the audience, as well as the nature and scope of the project. Question number 10. How do you ensure that a project is aligned with the goals of the organization in the banking industry? Ensuring that a project is aligned with the goals of the organization is important in any industry, including the banking industry. There are several ways that a project can be aligned with the goals of the organization in the banking industry, and following are some of those points. Point number 1. Clearly define the project's objective. One of the first steps in ensuring that a project is aligned with the goals of the organization is to clearly define the project's objectives. This might involve establishing specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time bound goals that are aligned with the broader goals of the organization. Number 2. Consult with key stakeholders. It is important to involve key stakeholders in the project planning process to ensure that the project is aligned with the goals of the organization. This might involve gathering input from executive leadership, business units, and other relevant stakeholders to ensure that the project aligns with the organization's strategic priorities. 3. Monitor progress against the project plan. Regularly monitoring progress against the project plan can help to ensure that the project remains aligned with the goals of the organization. This might involve tracking key performance indicators or other metrics that are relevant to the project and the organization's goals. Number 4, make adjustments as needed. As the project progresses, it may be necessary to make adjustments to the project plan to ensure that it remains aligned with the goals of the organization. This might involve revising project's objectives, adjusting the timeline or budget, or reassigning tasks or resources. Now, how satisfied are you with this answer? Do you think that you can add a point from your side to this one? Tell us down in the comments. Let's move on to question number 11. How do you handle conflicting priorities in the banking industry? Well, to handle conflicting priorities in the banking industry, it may be helpful to follow these steps. Step number 1, identify the conflicting priorities. The first step in handling conflicting priorities is to first identify which priorities are in conflict. This might involve analyzing the project plan or consulting with key stakeholders to understand the various demands and expectations that are being placed on the project. Step number 2, assess the relative importance of each priority. Once the conflicting priorities have been identified, it is important to assess the relative importance of each one. This might involve considering factors such as the impact on the organization, the resources required, and the potential risks or consequences of not addressing the priority. Step 3, develop a plan to address the conflicting priorities. Based on the assessment of the relative importance of each priority, the team can develop a plan to address the conflicting priorities. This might involve prioritizing certain tasks or activities over others, allocating resources differently, or finding ways to integrate multiple priorities into a single plan. Step 4, communicate the plan to stakeholders. It is important to communicate the plan for addressing conflict priorities to all relevant stakeholders, including team members, management, and other stakeholders. This will help to ensure that everyone is aware of the decisions that have been made and the reasons behind them. Step 5, monitor and adjust the plan as needed. As the project progresses, it may be necessary to make adjustments to the plan to ensure that conflicting priorities are being effectively managed. This might involve reassessing the relative importance of each priority, adjusting the allocation of resources, or revising the project plan as needed. Question 12. Can you describe a time when you had to present data to a group in the banking industry? To answer this question, you can even suggest ways in which you would, in general, prepare for a presentation. To prepare for a data presentation in the banking industry, I would follow these steps. Step number 1, identify the audience and purpose of the presentation. One of the first steps in preparing for a data presentation is to identify the audience and the purpose of the presentation. This will help to inform the content and format of the presentation, as well as the level of detail and complexity that is appropriate. Step 2, gather and analyze the data. Next, I would gather and analyze the data that will be presented. This might involve collecting data from a variety of sources, such as internal company data, market research, or government data. I would then use data analytics tools and visualization techniques to identify trends, patterns, and insights that are relevant to the audience and the purpose of the presentation. Step 3, develop a clear and concise message. Based on the data analysis, I would develop a clear and concise message that summarizes the key findings and recommendations. This message should be tailored to the specific needs and interests of the audience and should be easy to understand and remember. Step 4, prepare the visual aids. To help illustrate the key points and findings, I will prepare visual aids such as charts, graphs, and maps. These visual aids should be visually appealing and easy to understand and should be used to reinforce rather than distract from the message. Step 5. Practice the presentation. To ensure that the presentation runs smoothly, I would practice the presentation beforehand. This might involve rehearsing the delivery, timing the presentation to ensure it fits within the allotted time, and soliciting feedback from colleagues or peers. Moving on to the next question, that is question 13. Can you describe a time when you had to present complex information to a non technical audience in the banking industry? Well, in general, if you have to present complex information to a non technical audience in the banking industry, you can follow these steps. Step number 1, identify the audience and purpose of the presentation. The first step in preparing for a presentation is to identify the audience and the purpose of the presentation. This will help to inform the content and format of the presentation as well as the level of detail and complexity that is appropriate. Step 2, determine the level of technical knowledge of the audience. To effectively present complex information to a non technical audience, it is important to understand the level of technical knowledge and familiarity that the audience has with the topic. This will inform how much background or context is needed, as well as the level of detail that is appropriate. Step 3, simplify and clarify the information. To make complex information more accessible to a non technical audience, it may be necessary to simplify and clarify the information. This might involve using clear and concise language, avoiding jargon and technical terms, and using visual aids such as charts, graphs, and diagrams to illustrate key points and concepts. Step 4, use examples and anecdotes. To help make the information more relatable and understandable, it may be helpful to use examples and anecdotes that illustrate key points and concepts. These examples should be relevant and relatable to the audience and should be used to help clarify or illustrate sample ideas that are also complex in the nature. Let's take a quick look at question number 14 now. How do you ensure that a project is delivered on time and within budget in the banking industry? Well, ensuring that a project is delivered on time and within budget is important in any industry, including the banking industry. To ensure that a project is delivered on time and within budget in the banking industry, it may be helpful to follow these steps. Step number 1, clearly define the project scope and objectives. One of the first steps in ensuring that a project is delivered on time and within budget is to clearly define the project scope and objectives. This might involve establishing specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time bound goals, as well as identifying the resources and constraints that can impact the project. Step number 2, develop a project plan. Based on the project scope and objectives, the team should develop a detailed project plan that outlines the tasks, activities, and milestones that will be required to complete the project. The project plan should also include estimates of the time and resources that will be required to complete each task or activity. Step number 3, allocate resources and assign tasks. Based on the project plan, the team should allocate the necessary resources and assign tasks to team members. This might involve assigning specific roles and responsibilities, as well as establishing clear expectations and deadlines for each task or activity. Step number 4, monitor and track progress. To ensure that the project stays on track, it is important to regularly monitor and track progress against the project plan. This might involve tracking key performance indicators or other metrics that are relevant to the project and making adjustments to the plan as needed to keep the project on track. Step number 5, communicate with stakeholders. It is important to keep stakeholders informed about the progress of the project and any issues or challenges that may arise. This might involve regular progress reports, meetings, or other forms of communication. Well, that was the end of the video. Thank you for watching our video on business analyst interview questions and answers. We hope you found the information helpful in preparing for your next interview. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more career advice and job interview tips. And if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. We're always looking for ways to improve our content, so please leave your feedback and suggestions in the comment section below. Thanks again for watching and good luck with your interview.